pasted over the eyes of the female royalty on their eyelids as kind of an eyeshadow, but also as a spiritual sign of protection. In China, 2,000 to 5,000 years ago, crystals were used as actual tips on acupuncture needles. Bob, I don't know if you knew that.
That's awesome.
I read that in, and it's interesting because I actually thought when we were learning about stuff, I was like, ooh, I should make a line of acupuncture crystals. But then it was already done. The Chinese have done it long before I would ever think of it. And then in India, 2,000 years ago, in Ayurvedic medicine, they shows consistently the use of crystals as well as herbs in healing practices. So how do crystals work? That's the number one question everybody wants to know. How do they work? How do they work? Do they work? So a couple cool things is Melody outlines in her books, and you can pass these around if you'd like, that crystals work mostly by piezoelectricity, which means electricity of the stone, which is usually brought about through kinetics. So if you take two stones together, most forms that have any kind of flint, shale in them, you strike them, they set off light and they set off electricity, which is that spark that you see like in a lighter. Or pyroelectricity, which is where you heat up the crystal, it makes the molecules vibrate, and then that vibration emanates the field around the crystal. Or some people believe that it can also work through direct atomic transfer. So quantum physics tells us that nothing that we see and we think is solid is truly solid. There's some kind of meta agreement that we've all made that these things are these things and they shall be these things. But constantly, quantum physics is showing that molecules can exist in multiple places at once, or atoms from me can transfer to the stool that I'm sitting on, can transfer to the computer, but somehow I remain myself. But on some level, it may be that I'm absorbing some principles of the things that I'm around. So I like to also refer to it as atomic transfer. And then I put the dots, the ellipse, because there's so many ways that they could potentially work that we just don't know yet. And I think that's important as we move towards so much research-based and science-based that we don't forget our heritage of simply knowing, right? Because there's so many ways. I mean, there are medicines that we've created ourselves as humans that literally it'll tell you we don't know the mechanism of action. A lot of the antiemetics, a lot of the cancer drugs, we don't know how they work. We just tried it, it did this, so we keep doing it. And that's how a lot of our common knowledge, traditional knowledge came about. So now we'll go ahead and start with the systems. I thought it would be easiest to break it down into the chakra systems, because then we can break it down into organs that are related to the chakras, as well as crystals and herbs that we can put together to work on those organs and those chakras together. So we'll start with the root chakra, and I've got some crystals that I'll pass around for each. The root chakra is actually called Muladhara. There's the symbol for it there. The organs that are connected with the root chakra include the intestines, the sex organs, the anus, the rectum, the feet, and the legs. Imbalances in these organs can present as erectile dysfunction, lack of motivation, a foggy mind or lack of clear-headedness, impotence, difficult menstruation, constipation, or diarrhea. So remember, your imbalances can go either everything's stuck or everything's too excessive. Like we're not balanced anymore, we're either overly excessive or overly deficient. So some of the herbs that we use for that chakra imbalance would be alfalfa, because of the roots, how deep they grow. You can get that mineral composition that you need to really help ground you back to the earth and to yourself. Any of the mushrooms and root herbs, herbs that are cooling and nourishing, or drying and moistening, depending on what your imbalance is. I've got herbs here.
Oh, I like this one.
Crystals here. So this is a smoky quartz, and this is hematite. So of course, in looking at your herbs, you always want to look at your client and see what their imbalance is, and then choose the appropriate herbs. Crystals, you have a little bit more leeway. So crystals, as I just passed around, the smoky quartz and the hematite. We also have all of the garnets and red stones, and any brown stones such as serpentine. You can use any of your red calcite, your strawberry quartz, any of the red, gray, black stones. One of the cool things with hematite, and it's being increasingly used in naturopathic therapies, is it can be magnetized. So you can also use hematite or lodestone also works very, very well for the root chakra as well and keeps you nice and grounded. Renee?
I have a question and or a comment. It's not really a question, it's more a comment that you're happy to elaborate on anything that you found in that. Whoever CEO was here, she was telling me she's got a niece and a nephew who are medical doctors in Ecuador and they work in the hospital. And the nephew has now gone to only using magnets and hematite and has also gone to using it on a patient there or somebody who's in another place.
Yes.
And can find a reaction. I just thought that was very, coming from a double PhD, a medical doctor and a medical doctor, to have her laying somewhere and him in Ecuador and using a surrogate with the magnets to find her in balance and him believing that and her feeling better.
Absolutely, yeah. We do that.
Amazing.
Yeah, we do that a lot in Reiki healing. It's called distance healing. You can actually do it with crystals. I believe you can do it with herbs as well, just through the spiritual connection. And so if you think of our bodies as, another term for it's the holographic universe. So no matter the size of the universe, everything that gets smaller is a reflection of the greater. So if you think of our bodies as our own individual small little planets, we have our own magnetic field, we have our own ecosystem, we have our own biodome. And so all of those fields centrifugally are connected. And so if you affect change in one person somewhere and that person agrees to be a conduit for that other person, then you can elicit change in that other person. And I've seen it in Reiki practice.
I just find it to be so interesting that we would have a double PhD, a medical doctor, and a medical doctor, like in the office submitting to this happening worldwide. Literally is worldwide. Somewhere, across the continent, literally, and it'd be like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better.
Well, we're in this interesting phase right now because science, a lot of people think that science and spirituality are dueling and competing, and they're really not. In fact, science sprung out of spirituality. And so I think what's happening is the pendulum has swung so far that it's starting to loop back onto itself, where science is now becoming more spiritual, and spirituality is becoming more scientific, because they're really two ends of the same spectrum.
I just thought it was very interesting.
It's
good. It's nice to see your line up with the energies that way, the different ones and the ones we don't know yet.
Yeah.
To have that starting to happen. It gives hope to all of you.
Absolutely.
About,
Absolutely.
I
I wouldn't hesitate to, well, that could get very weird for a lot of people, but I wouldn't hesitate to make medicine and to perform an entire ceremony for someone that was not here using herbs. Yeah.
I agree.
Absolutely.
But for us to be able to verbalize that and to have a PhD in science verbalize that to me outwardly because she believes in what we're doing.
Yeah.
Admit to that circumstance.
Absolutely.
It's an accomplishment.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah.
So moving on to the sacral chakra called Swadisthana. I probably butchered that to anybody who speaks Hindi, so I apologize. The organs that are related to that are the stomach, the kidneys, the bladder, the lower back, and the female sexual organs. And that's mostly for a distance thing. So the male sexual organs really are rooted very much in the pelvis, and the females are slightly a little bit above. Depending on, of course, a lot of things, if you've had babies and all of that as well. So, but mostly because the sacral chakra is a really watery place, so it's tied very much to the female cycle, the female energy of life. So imbalances there could be adrenal fatigue, urinary tract infections, and bladder prolapse and back pain. And that's just a few of those. Some herbs that we could use there are, of course, the uva ursi, shatavari, ashwagandha, licorice, damiana, and motherwort. And then some crystals we have for that. I have carnelian here, which is a really beautiful stone. It actually comes in a few different colors, but it mostly stays with the oranges and browns. Carnelian is a very smooth stone, a very gentle energy. You can also use orange calcite. Calcite comes in almost the entire spectrum of colors. I've never seen it in purple though. You can also use tiger's eye. And then I also put seashell. I know seashell is not a crystal, but it seemed appropriate to me at the time because of connecting to the women's ocean energy. And then we have the solar plexus chakra, which is Manipura, which is just here, literally at your xiphoid process. It's actually at your, there's actually a bundle of nerves there as well. So the organs that are connected are the liver and the pancreas, as well as the nervous and the immune systems. Imbalances in these organs and systems can lead to autoimmune disease, diabetes, neuropathologies, and that's to include anything from diabetic neuropathy, nerve pain, paresthesias, neuralgias. What's that one that people weren't sure if really was an illness? It's slipping my head now. Fibromyalgia, that's one as well that connects here. Cirrhosis of the liver, liver failure, and anxiety. So your solar plexus chakra is really a place of your inner being and your ability to express yourself, your self-worth, your self-power, and your self-love. So whenever those are imbalanced, you can have issues of self-harm and self-hate, which is a reflection of the autoimmune disease. You can also have issues with anxiety if you don't feel secure in yourself and who you are. Some crystals we can use for that are citrine. I have a few pieces here. I will have to admit, just because I know that some people on YouTube will probably be screaming at me, that's not citrine! Most of the citrine that we actually have today is not real citrine. Most of citrine is actually very rare and very hard to find. This is actually heat-treated amethyst. By and large, most citrines you find are heat-treated amethyst. If you look at these, very similar, right? Only one's purple and one's orange. This is heated to about 150, 190 degrees, and it turns color. But, you know, a lot of people still use it. A lot of people still get the same benefit as using citrine. I challenge you to try it for yourself. The real citrine is very expensive. It's literally almost mined out. We've just recently found more citrine. I don't remember if it's in South America, but it's going to be hitting the market, but it's still very pricey.
I have an opinion about this, definitely in the aspect of only if you can see purple, then a wavelength is moving towards you that allows you to see that. So therefore, that wavelength in that range of frequency is coming at you for you to be able to see that. And so that altercation is enough to change the vibration.
Oh, absolutely.
But the constituents being the same. And the other thing is, if any of you guys, he's right about if any of you have ever seen a real citrine, you would never be out and be like, oh, that's a citrine, I want this.
Yeah, you would just think it's a quartz that's just slightly yellowed.
Yeah.
Sometimes I call it lemon quartz,
The tallow quartz is
yeah.
a good example of that because tallow is like beigey fat.
Yeah, and then the other thing too is a lot of people actually like the heat-treated amethyst because they can use it as a substitution for citrine. It's cost-effective, and you potentially get an amethyst vibration in with it. So some of the higher spiritual aspects of the amethyst kind of bleed through with that. So try it for yourselves and see what you think will work for you. But some herbs we can use for the solar plexus chakra are nettles, passion flower, hibiscus, licorice, lemon balm, ashwagandha, astragalus, and all of your adaptogens. Most of the problems with the solar plexus chakra, working with your adrenal fatigue as well, just from the overstimulation that we experience in our daily life, can help bring that back down and help bring us back into balance and seed us back into our bodies. So we did say the citrine, the tallow quartz. Tiger's eye is a good one. It really helps to build your defenses, and it's also very grounding because tiger's eye is a mix between these beautiful bands of orange, I don't have any up here, but then it also has stripes of hematite in it as well, which help ground you in yourself and in your being. You all can use yellow topaz, yellow calcite, any yellow stones really. And then we have our heart chakra, which is the anahata. The organs are, of course, the heart, the vasculature, and the blood. I left out all of the endocrine organs for this because they flow into each other so much that it was going to be overly confusing. So heart, vasculature, and blood are what we're going to focus on. So your imbalances here can be anything related to hyper or hypotension, chest pain, varices, which are like varicose veins, which are a prolapse basically of the vessels, and anemia. Herbs you can use, of course, will be all of your heart herbs and all of your heart medicine. So you have your hawthorn leaf, hawthorn flower, hawthorn berry, you have your rose, nettles, hibiscus, rhodiola, and again, all members of the Rosaceae family. And then we have crystals. Of course, rose quartz is the #1 sought after heart medicine as far as crystals go. Very powerful crystal. Also, any of your green stones. This is a green calcite. You can also use any of your peridot. You can use green aventurine. Strawberry quartz because it's got more of a pink than a red. And rhodochrosite is amazing heart medicine as far as crystals go. Very expensive because it, like the citrine, is being mined out. So if you can get rhodochrosite, you can get your hands on it, do it. I don't even have rhodochrosite, and I love it. It's beautiful. Then we have our throat chakra. We're continuing up. This is Vishuddha. The organs are, of course, the throat, the lungs, the vocal cords, and the sinuses. Imbalances in this area can lead to pneumonias, laryngitis, hoarseness, sinus infections, and COPD, just to name a few. Of course, you can use your Sita for the ephedrine if you use mostly the roots. Slippery elm, any members of the mallow family. Lobelia, lavender, menthol, and members of the Laminaceae family, or the mints, and your mullins. Crystals we can use for this are our blue lace agates, which I don't have that. Aquamarine, which is really beautiful, very nice gemstone quality crystal. Blue calcite, which is here. I also added pearl. I know that's not a gemstone, but pearl, yes. Lapis lazuli, which is here, which is really great. It's a composite. It's less of a crystal and more of a stone because it's a composite stone. It's got irons, it's got silver, it's got a lot in it. And this is the one that I was telling you they put on the eyeshadow as eyeshadow in Egypt as well. And of course, if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. You don't have to wait for me to open for questions. Then we have the third eye chakra, which is one of my favorites. It's Anja. The organs there are your pituitary gland, your pineal, your hypothalamus, and your brain in general. This chakra deals with our ability to perceive the world around us and the world within us. Imbalances in this chakra can lead to lacks of personal vision for your life, lack of clarity and forethought, and problems with memory. Herbs, of course, are our mugwort, skullcap, gotu-kola, ginkgo, and bacopa. Some crystals that I love for this are labradorite, which is absolutely one of my favorites. And then, of course, the amethyst that we talked about earlier. You can also use any of the clear quartz. Clear quartz you can really use for any of your chakras, any of your systems, any of your imbalances. It's like the clean slate of crystals. You can program it to do exactly what you want, and it complies because it's just a great servant. You can also use fluorite, which is, I would mostly use the purple and green fluorite versus, because you can get some that are yellow, like watermelon tourmalines and those things like that can look like those. I would focus on the blues and purples. You can use Optic Calcite, which is an amazing stone. Optic Calcite, I actually think we have one out there. But what you can do is you can actually draw a line on a paper and set an Optic Calcite on it, and it will actually split into 2 lines. It's very amazing, has a lot of amazing light refractory properties to it. The Optic Calcite actually, and Renee I'm sure knows this, but the Vikings used to use Optic Calcite to navigate long distances and even in storms. So that's an amazing testament to its ability to help you with your vision in your life and your clarity with yourself. Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And labradorite, which is somewhere out there, which is my absolute favorite. It's just beautiful, beautiful stone. You can get that in any color, greens, browns, purples, blues. It's amazing. But again, that's a stone, not a crystal. And then we have our crown chakra, which is Sahasrara. This is actually kind of, a lot of people say, I've read different things where they say, oh, your crown chakra is out of balance. I don't personally believe that your crown chakra can ever be out of balance because it is your essence, it's you, it's like the portion of God that is you. So I don't believe it can ever be diseased, imbalanced, or made dysfunctional. I believe that we're the ones who are either connected with it or we're not. And that's okay. So there's really not a lot of healing in my scope to do with healing the crown chakra. It's really about reconnecting you to your crown chakra. If you disagree, I'm sorry. So the organs, I say it covers all body systems. It covers your insight and your emotional well-being. I also think of the crown chakra as our blueprint. It's our blueprint for the functioning of our body. So if our body is out of whack, we can reconnect with our source, and it can re-guide us into balance. So imbalances of the crown chakra or connection to the crown chakra can lead to feelings of loneliness, which is that separation, depression, nerve pain, lack of life direction, motivation, and purpose. Herbs that we can use to re-stimulate that connection would be ginseng, all of the mushrooms, cordyceps especially, lemon balm, which is the mood lifter, reishi, tulsi, rose, ayahuasca, only legally in the appropriate places, guayusa, and guayusa. And then for crystals for this, really is all crystals, but I like to focus on mostly clear crystals and blue crystals. So I always say selenite. Here's 2 examples of selenite here. Clear quartz. And then seraphonite, celestite, celestite, yeah, that one was just escaping me, is one of my new favorite ones to work with the crown chakra, because it actually helps that connection to higher realms of consciousness, beings in other dimensions. And so if you use that, it kind of helps to re-bridge that gap if one has been developed through your crown chakra. Also, you can use Herkimer diamonds, if you've got money like that. Clear quartz, opal, we talked about the celestite, seraphonite, which connects you with angel beings and beings of light, howlite, and the selenite we talked about there. So how do we combine the two? I gave you a bunch of information on crystals, and then I gave you some herbs that kind of go with those together. But so when we work with herbs, we tend to use those in meditation. We can use those in medicine bags. We can use those in tisanes or tinctures, and guided meditations with plant spirit communication. And working with crystals, I kind of lined them up so you could see that you actually use them in the same way. So crystals, you can use them with meditation. You can use them as jewelry and wear them on your body or in your person, in your pockets. You can do elixirs or essences with the crystals. And you can do hands-on sessions with practitioners such as myself. You can also use the crystals in medicine bags with herbs. So what are some ideas that you guys would have about how to combine the use of crystals with herbs? We talked about medicine bags. We talked about essences. So maybe you could use a flower essence, right? You can use a crystal elixir or crystal essence the exact same way and put those two together. You can make your herbal formulas and have your client drop a crystal into them. But I wouldn't do that unless you've actually taken a crystal elixir course, because there are some crystals that are actually poisonous and there are some that are porous, and you'll put them in and they're gone. Don't ever put any crystals that flake. Actually, I'm just going to say don't ever put a crystal into a liquid that you intend to consume, because I don't want anybody being like.
Put it on top of.
You can. You can, yeah, you can put them. Yep, you can put a crystal grid and set your tisane inside of that. Set your tincture inside of that. You can set your crystal, if you have it in a separate container, into like the water that you're going to use to then make your tisane. You can set your crystal into another vessel and then inside of a bowl with your vodka or your menstruum that you're going to use to make your tincture. Any other things that you guys can think of? You can put them in your garden. You can put them around your home. You can put them, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm not getting commission, but I challenge you to start thinking about crystals more. We have this amazing crystal room. We could send our clients out of here with a crystal.
We use them when we built sweat lodge.
Yeah.
The house. So
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And we just have this resource, but I thought this would be a perfect class because we have an amazing resource out there to use, and it just increases our toolbox of things that we can do for our people. This is my list of references. Blah, blah.
Can you dress a crystal in essential oil and use that like in your...
You can, you absolutely can. So if you have an essential oil, it's made of herbs, so that's another combination. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And in class, we talked about making elixirs, and I wasn't here to hear Darren spoke about that. But you just got to be careful what the actual quantity of that mineral gets into the whatever it is, so that the one I always use as a good example is the light has a heavy amount of lithium in it, so that you can literally affect somebody's medicine one way or the other if you inject lithium into that situation. So you have to be very careful, and that's something that we learn in class, and it's really easy to learn that from a very old scale of hardness, and you can figure out where they dissolve. And
Yeah, the Mohs scale.
Yeah,
the Mohs
for
hardness,
sure.
yeah. But if you don't know, it's always completely appropriate to put it in another glass container, a small glass container, and set it in.
100%, because it alters the vibration of
Yeah.
the water and the molecular structure.
Just like a flower essence.
Yeah, and so that you absolutely can put it in another container and put it into something and be safe and fine. And that's something we do all of the time if we need to.
Yeah.
And people will say to me, I made that sponge spray you gave me the recipe for, and I don't understand why there's the difference. And I'm like, well, because there's rose quartz in mine. But it's, yeah. And we have right now on the shelf, we have tinctures that if you shake them, you'll hear rattling because there's rose quartz at the bottom of them. That they've been in there for 2 years. So.
Yeah. Also, decorate your rooms, your client rooms. When you come in for the evening, Bob and Renee said we can take any crystals out of here and put them into our room. So if you know that you have a client with anxiety, fill it with all your root chakra crystals.
Make sure you put them back.
It's going to help pull their energy down.
If you're a practitioner with anxiety.
Yeah, that too.
If you need extra energy or you need extra confidence.
Yeah.
Put your baby
Treat
in
yourself
there.
first.
Like put your baby in there unless you want to molest while you're in there, and that's on camera, so it's not really bad. But, but you all know what it is, what I mean. So definitely. Do you guys have any questions for Derek? You all have surveys to evaluate it. No, I'm just kidding. When you're done. No. Good job.
All right,
Really
thank you.
Okay, on that note.